either the Trinity or Tawheed. I am convinced that Tawheed is right, so I'm here. I want to be a Muslim. After taking my shahada, I took my shahada. They let me leave with a book called The Halal and the Haram, an English version of that. So this is an interesting story. I had my now wife of 34 years in college, and we weren't married. We were waiting till I graduated to get married. But we had been dating for 3 years. We were engaged. We had a wedding planned. I'm doing all of this mental research. She's thinking I'm going to be a Baptist preacher. I'm decided I want to be a Muslim, right? But I'm not talking with people. I'm just doing this internally the whole time. So when I show up on the mosque and I take Shahada and I come home, I said, I want to tell you something. She goes, what? I'm going to be a Muslim. You know, I became a Muslim. And her face looked at me. I mean, it was from hi to what? What did you do? I said, I became a Muslim. She goes, why would you do? And she started yelling and getting upset. And she says, I don't know where did this come from? I'm not gonna. And she started just making a list of things she was never gonna do. I'm like, calm down. Just be happy for me. I don't care what you do. Right? It's for me. So she calmed down. I got that book, The Halal and Haram, right? So I was reading and I learned very shortly that Muslims don't deal in riba, interest. Well, I graduated with a degree in finance. I specialized in interest rates, how to make money with money. And I'm no longer going to be a Baptist minister. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I start looking for whatever job I can find. And I get hired as a trucking sales rep. So calling businesses on the phone saying, use our truck lines to ship your product. Okay. And starting that, just have income. I read a little bit in the Halal and the Haram, and it says, hey, Muslims don't eat pork. I'm like, Yeah, Christians view as pork was bad. Jesus died. Everything became clean. So you can eat it now. So I grew up eating pork. Well, the Muslims still don't eat pork. So I go to my wife. I said, hey, I learned something. She goes, what? I said, Muslims don't eat pork. So when you're making dinner or whatever, don't give it to me. Just leave it out. She's like, what have you got? I mean, she gives me this sad look and a little upset. And then like I joined a cult, really, is what she's thinking. And she's like, I'm not going to do this. And she goes on about what she's not going to. I said, don't worry about you. Do what you want. Just let me be happy. I read a few pages later and it says, Muslim men don't wear gold. Well, I already had a gold wedding band picked out. I went to her, I said, hey, can we change this band to silver? She took off her engagement ring and threw it across her room and said, I'm not gonna. And she gets upset and then she calms down and then and I'm like, okay, but she goes on. Long story short, we ended up I talked her into going to a mosque and getting Islamically married. And I went to church and got through the whole wedding that we already had planned. So 2 weddings. But she was just tolerating me. She really liked me, but she thought what I was doing was weird. And I met the Muslim community in Omaha, and they invited me in. They treated me like a rock star, like, hey, you're white, you're a Muslim, we love you. You know, I was happy to find that they had a library in the mosque with books on comparative religion or dawah videos or Christian debates with Muslims over the years. I mean, just a lot of stuff that was very good. So I started borrowing it and taking it home and reading it and then telling my wife, look what I learned, look what I learned. And she'd listen. And for a while, then 5-10 minutes, she'd be, that's it. I don't want to hear anymore. I'm done. Let's just leave me alone. But one day I come home, and this is after several months of me reading, watching videos, doing things. I'm all pumped up. I'm a Muslim. I'm doing that. And she sees some changes in me, right? So it's not threatening her. She's just observing. And she goes, I want to meet other Muslims. I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough for you, right? So I go to the mosque and I say, hey, my wife said she wants to meet other Muslims. What do you think? They said, well, brother, we have a halakha. Right? A bunch of families get together at a house on Friday and we do tafsir of the Quran, a little bit of discussion, then we eat and then we pray and we go home. He said, why don't you just bring her to the halakha? We can all visit. I said, great. So we go to the first halakha, and this is the first time she's seen Muslim women and children and men all interacting in a normal, everyday environment. And she enjoyed it. It was like, that was something that she hadn't expected. I don't know what she expected, but it was like positive for her. So we go to 1 or 2 of these halakas in a row, and the next time we're going, she goes, would it be okay if I pray with you guys this time? And I'm thinking, okay, you want to be no, I don't want to be a Muslim. But every time you guys all stop and get up and pray, I'm sitting watching, something inside of me wants me to join. Like, I'd like to be part of that. That would be cool. So I'm like, yeah, you can just join. Just get in line and follow. She doesn't even know what to say. She's just mimicking the movement, but wanted to be part of the prayer. I'm like, okay. A few more halakas, and I come home one day and she goes, I think I'm ready. I go, ready for what? To be a Muslim. But I'm not going to, she gives me this list of things she's not going to do. I'm like, hey, this is going my way. Yeah, fine, good. She becomes a Muslim. Make a long story short, everything she said she would never do, she now does.